What in the world is happening at Saint Laurent? I've been tracking the prices of YSL bags over the last few years, and they have steadily been increasing with regular increases, as have lots of other luxury fashion houses. The small LouLou, for example, went up from $2,590 to $2,950 in 2022, an increase of $400. But in 2024, we have seen, for the first time in a long time, a price decrease. These are the bags that have had a price decrease and what I think this all means. Hey, if you are new here, my name is Steph. Now, a little fun fact for you. Saint Laurent was established in 1962 by Yves Saint Laurent himself. However, in 2012, creative director Hedi Slimane decided to launch a rebranding effort. So he rebranded the brand from Yves Saint Laurent, which was tied to the designer, and he renamed it Saint Laurent Paris because he felt that Saint Laurent was more of a brand as opposed to directly referring to the designer who started the fashion house in the first place. So the actual correct name of the brand right now is Saint Laurent, but you will see the YSL logo on all of the bags. Okay, I have some notes on my phone here so I don't mess this up. Which bags have been affected by this price decrease? Before I go on, I've got some comments from some of you on this topic, and actually the way people are responding to this is a little bit of a surprise to me, so I'm going to be going through that. Okay, the big one that everyone is talking about is the LouLou bag from Saint Laurent. This is easily one of the most popular bags from the brand. In fact, I have two of them, which you can see behind me here. So I have the cinnamon suede and I also have the vintage Blanc. Mine are the small size. Okay, so the small LouLou retailed at its height of $2,950, but if you go on the Saint Laurent website now, you can now pick up one of these bags for $2,650. So a saving of $300 on this one. And I believe in the UK, it's actually a very similar price drop. So at this bag's height, I think it was about £2,250 or £90, something like that. It is now £1,900 in the UK. The medium LouLou, so the next size up from this one, retailed at $3,200. It has now been reduced to $2,890. Again, another reduction of about $300. And then the other bag that has been decreased is the Cassandra wallet on chain bag. A small bag, but very much an entry-level bag, as is the LouLou in terms of the Saint Laurent brand. They are both incredibly popular. Okay, so the Cassandra envelope wallet on chain retailed in the UK at £925. It now retails at £870, so a saving of £55. Now, not all bags have seen a decrease. In fact, we've actually seen an increase on some of the brand's, I would say, more popular bags and the ones that I'll describe more as the it bags, one of those being the Icar tote bag from Saint Laurent. So the price has remained the same in the US, but in the UK we have seen a slight increase. So I paid £3,150 for this bag before the big increase that this bag saw. It then retailed at £3,620 in the UK, but now it's gone up to £3,775. So about £150 price increase on this one. Now, I think this is a very strategic move from Saint Laurent, which I'm going to go into more detail with my kind of marketing background, what I think this brand is now trying to achieve. But first, I thought I would actually look at some of the comments. How are you all feeling about this? And some of those, okay, someone said, I feel like it could be because Louis Vuitton and Chanel are pricing up. So instead of following suit, they are adjusting down to grab the customers Louis Vuitton and Chanel are leaving behind. This is really interesting. We have seen some really big increases from Chanel, particularly their classic flap bag, you know, the kind of pinnacle dream bag, if you will. And we've seen some really steep increases from Louis Vuitton. Again, though, I would say the increases from Louis Vuitton, we have definitely seen across the board in general, but the most affected bags are bags like the Capucine, the kind of iconic pinnacle bags, if you will. And I do talk about this a lot, but when I got my Capucine mini bag, this exact one, I think it was £3,200, something like that. To buy this exact same bag now, I believe you're looking at about £5,000. Like, we have just seen some huge increases. And I definitely can understand that that is putting some people off. I've seen a lot of you comment in other videos of mine when we've talked about price increases that it has just completely put you off brands like mostly Chanel, to be honest. But I guess some people for Louis Vuitton, if this is a bag you really want, it does then require a lot more saving up to actually get your hands on one. Another comment, quite an interesting one. Someone else, but it could be because Tanner Leatherstein recently reviewed the LouLou bag and it was pretty mediocre. So I did watch his review of the bag. He didn't fully take it apart or kind of take the top layer off the leather that he usually does with other bags, which I thought was a bit of a shame, but he wanted to give the bag away, so he didn't want to completely ruin it. But his summary is that the LouLou bag is quite an average bag. He wouldn't say it's exceptional in any way. You are very much paying for the logo on the front of the bag, which I would agree with. I do think they are nice quality bags, but I definitely have higher quality bags, but they retail at more. And then someone else commented, I think this is my sign to get it. So overall, I was wondering whether there might be more backlash towards Saint Laurent, because obviously if you purchased a bag and then the price decreased, that could be very frustrating to know that you could have got the exact same piece for less. There's also the element of when you buy luxury pieces, there's kind of an expectation that, okay, they're not really investments. I would never bet on a bag as an investment to make me money. However, I often buy luxury pieces because they do hold their value better than a high street bag, for example. And again, my Capucine bag, because the price increases have been so high on this, it is now likely that someone would want to save a few, if I sold this for what I paid for it, that someone would want to save a few £1,000s and buy my pre-loved one in amazing condition. I'm not selling this, by the way, I'm just using it as an example. So for me, even though this isn't an investment, I never plan to sell this. This is the most perfect red bag. But if I did want to sell it, I'm pretty confident I could get most of my money back, if not all of my money back that I paid for this. And that is part of the allure of luxury. Okay, so my take on this from my marketing background perspective, what I think this means for Saint Laurent as a brand, what I think it means for the luxury industry in general. Guys, please do get involved in the comments. I would love to get your thoughts. Are you happy about the price decrease? Does it turn you on to Saint Laurent more, or does it put you off? My take then. So my background, at university I studied fashion marketing specifically. Prior to that I studied fashion design, and then ever since I joined the workforce I have done digital marketing, specializing in brand communications, e-commerce, social media management, etc, etc. From what I have learnt, I think Saint Laurent have a very interesting strategy, and I actually think it could be a winning strategy. So there's no doubt about it, we are in a cost of living crisis. Everything seems to be going up. Now, during the pandemic, a lot of people were generally more cash rich. We weren't going anywhere, we weren't going out, we couldn't go on holiday. So a lot of people had more money to spend, and I think a lot of that, especially in the luxury space, was then spent on luxury items. I know my spending on luxury went up during the pandemic, not down, which is kind of what I thought would happen, but that was not the case. Now, of course, this means people have less disposable income and we might potentially be heading into a recession economically. But when this happens, and obviously recessions happen in cycles, luxury brands then have to be maybe slightly more strategic about who they're targeting. And I don't think it is just Saint Laurent who have a strategy here. It is very much some of the other big brands as well. Okay, so this is what I think Saint Laurent's strategy is. Okay, so if we look, this is very, very basic kind of levels of different types of customers. At the top of the pyramid, you have the really wealthy. These people generally have so much wealth that they are unaffected by recessions, they are unaffected by cost of living. They will still continue to buy. And I think there's a statistic where about 2% of customers of luxury brands account for about 40% of their revenue. And the luxury industry in general is often described as recession proof because you do have people that have so much money, again, that they are not affected by recessions. However, I will say the luxury industry has definitely changed over the decades, and now more than ever, you have middle class, working class people who can afford these pieces and will sometimes treat themselves and buy one. And with the cost of living, obviously money isn't going to go as far, so you are likely to spend less on luxury items. So it's probably the middle sector here of people that are going to be buying less. So brands are going to be much more reliant on the super wealthy clients that they've got. Now, I'm looking at brands like Chanel and Hermes. It very much feels like these super high tier brands are targeting this super wealthy, and they are less interested in all the other customers. They, especially Chanel, that I can see this from, they want to give these customers a very good experience. They want to give them quality. Therefore, they are going with a strategy of selling less but increasing their profit margins. So if you are in business, there are two ways to increase your profits. The first one is to increase your market share, so you sell higher volumes at lower profit margins. The other one is to increase your profit margins so you can sell less but make more profit on each item. So Chanel, for example, these aren't exact numbers, but just to give you an idea, maybe Chanel could sell 3 classic flaps and make $15,000 versus Saint Laurent, who would need to sell 10 small LouLou bags to make the same amount of money. So Saint Laurent are going after more quantity than they are profit margin. And I think Saint Laurent are really conscious of keeping some of their bags within the remit of beginner or first time buyers. And I think this is a really smart move, predominantly because if you buy your first or one of your first ever bags with a brand and you have a positive experience, build a relationship with a sales associate, you are much more likely to go back to that brand and buy again. But hot take, I think Saint Laurent's strategy is going to be closer to what we see at Louis Vuitton. Okay, so they have a much wider price bracket, from beginner bags like your canvas bags. Of course, the super popular Neverfull. If you are looking for a first designer bag, this is often one of those choices from the brand, but Louis Vuitton have been hiking the price up of these. So a Neverfull now retails around $1,500, but then at the higher price point, they have their range of Capucine bags. These generally cost, I would say, about 4, 5, 6 times the price of a canvas piece. So you'll go into store, maybe buy your first bag, and then you will see a wall of the pinnacle kind of bags from the brand, the Capucine, the Go 14, for example. And as you earn more money and kind of climb the career ladder, maybe have more disposable income, if you are already in love with the brand and have had some really good experiences, you're probably more likely to go in and buy one of their pinnacle pieces you've had your eye on for a long time. And this possibly explains why Saint Laurent want to keep the wallet on chain and bags like the LouLou, again, kind of entry-level bags for their brand, but then they have increased the price of bags like the Icare tote bag. And this right now is very much a bag that we have spotted on Sydney Sweeney, Angelina Jolie, Hailey Bieber. It's still in the media, it's still a hot bag. We are seeing a lot of the raffia version of the bag as well on summer holidays. So it's very much a pinnacle, aspirational bag, maybe that you see a lot on social media, versus the LouLou, which has kind of dipped in popularity. So I think they're using this bag strategically to try and get more people through the door, maybe buying their first or one of their first luxury. Now, like I've touched on, brands like Chanel and Hermes definitely are not taking this approach. They have just been hiking their prices up over the last few years. They are definitely targeting the 2%, like the uber rich of people. And just to give an example of this, a Chanel wallet on chain now retails at around £3,000 in the UK and around $3,000 in the US. I remember when these were like 1,500, and this is just for like a small wallet on chain. Like, Chanel do not want to target the kind of working or middle class really anymore. They are definitely going, I think personally, for the wealthiest customer. They are trying to attract them. And I think because they have been such a popular brand, a lot of people have covered that, you know, quality has suffered as a result of that, because maybe they're trying to produce too many and they just can't achieve the level of quality that they would like. So what do? They increase their profit margin, produce less of them, and hopefully that will increase the level of customer service that the wealthy get and also the quality. Now, I've definitely seen a lot of other brands stand still on their pricing. So again, Saint Laurent did not really have a price increase in 2023. Also, a brand that I was expecting an increase from that hasn't really happened, it hasn't happened in the UK anyway, is Celine. They generally have like 1, maybe 2 a year, but they've been stood still, and we have not yet seen an increase in 2024. And I think this could be a wise move, because if you sell something at a certain price and then decrease it, it kind of decreases the value of that piece. What I think we're going to see instead is more strategic tests of the market increases. And the way that brands are going to do this is they're going to introduce new styles of bags, and they're going to price them at a certain point and then maybe discontinue them just to get a feel for the market. Chanel do this really well with their seasonal pieces. So they have lots of bags that have no names. They have jewelry pieces, again, with no names, and they will put the price, and they have done, of these pieces up. So you aren't getting a direct price increase, which then disrupts the market less because no one's really talking about it. But if you steadily increase the price of all these items that don't really, they aren't part of the mainstream lines, they definitely go way more under the radar. Now, I've spoken to a few sales associates in luxury stores whilst I've been in London, and they're very much kind of all saying the same thing. There is definitely less buying happening, people with less money, maybe being more strategic with their purchases. However, the uber wealthy are still buying as normal, but overall, the brands are suffering. I do think the brands have seen crazy growth thanks to the pandemic, and now they're kind of coming down from that high, which, to be honest, is expected. And as luxury lovers, it's actually quite welcome, because you do kind of get to the point with some of these price increases where you're just like, is this actually worth it? I will pop links down below in the description box to the Saint Laurent bags that have had a price decrease if you want to go and check them out. Let me know your thoughts on the entire situation, but do not go anywhere, because coming up next over here, we are going to be going through my entire luxury bag collection. I definitely need to sell a few pieces, so hopefully you can help me decide. Let's go.